What's good, everybody, and welcome to Body Bag Podcast. I'm Chris Thomas, and with me, as always, Broke Writer Dave.
How we doing, everybody?
It is even better a second time.
Yes, it is.
So you want to go ahead and lay the groundwork for why we're doing this? This is like a standout review from the ones we've been doing this season.
To kick off last season, originally we were gonna do a review of Autopsy of Jane Doe, and we were recording it and everything, but some technical errors happened.
Chris messed up.
I don't even know if that's the case. I think just something happened, and we kind of lost the data for that, so we ended up doing The Witch instead.
Which was a good movie.
Oh yeah, but we decided we had a spot open, so we decided to come back to this one.
We kind of felt bad.
Review.
We kind of felt bad because we do think that the Autopsy of Jane Doe deserves its own breakdown.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
But before we go into that, the Autopsy of Jane Doe is just one of a few of certain movies that ended up not making the cut for one reason or another. So I thought I'd just take this time to do some honorable mentions and just a brief what we thought of them, because there are a few movies for one reason or another that we either recorded, but either the data was lost, or we were going to review something, but then we watched it and then for some reason we couldn't. For instance, one that comes off the top of my head first off is The Girl Next Door.
Oh, yeah.
Which I do believe that we were set to review The Girl Next Door, and I think we were going to review that with another podcaster.
Yeah, I think, this was probably, I want to say, back in maybe like February of 2023.
And we were like, okay, we watched it. We were all ready to review it, and then for one reason or another, they said that they couldn't make it, or our schedules didn't line up. So me and Dave were pretty much just sitting there like, well, we just watched that movie, and The Girl Next Door makes you feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
And not a good way.
No. Like, the movie, it's not a movie I'd ever watch again, but it's not because it's a bad movie. Because of the context of, like, the movie and what happened.
Yeah, it's a lot of child torture.
Yeah.
Specifically one child getting tortured.
Yeah.
And you're basically watching that for an hour and a half to 2 hours of this girl getting assaulted, sexually abused, physically abused, mentally tortured, and just like... And those kind of movies, it's not scary, it just makes you feel like shit.
It's rough to get to.
It's kind of like the reason why I don't watch the show Handmaid's Tale, because I've watched the first couple episodes of it, and I'm like, this is just making me feel bummed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not entertained. I'm just sitting here like, man, I feel like I need to take a shower and go outside.
Yeah. It's not a movie I'd ever recommend to somebody, even though it's nothing against, like, the directors or the actors. Like, it's well acted. It's good. I can't say good movie. It's filmed well. It's just a rough movie to watch.
I imagine it has its own audience.
Yeah.
I'm just not it.
Yeah. But speaking of that one, that also brings us to the remake of Last House on the Left, which I accidentally watched instead of The Girl Next Door first. So
you watched that and then you had to watch Girl Next Door.
Yeah.
But you probably watched Last House on the Left, and you're like, okay.
Like that's good. Last House on the Left, the remake, it's like that was kind of tough to watch at some parts, but it wasn't too bad.
Yes, but a different kind of tough to watch.
Yeah, has to deal with a lot of essay, and then
although I think the 70s version was a little bit more intense.
Out in the 70s version, but for the era that was in the 2010 remakes, I think it's one of the better remakes that came out in that era. I
can say that, yeah. I mean, that era was filled with a lot of remakes coming out.
Yeah.
It all kind of feels like watching the same movie.
Yeah.
I'm sure people who watched those movies know what I'm talking about. They all feel the same.
Yeah.
But another movie that never ended up we recorded, but we didn't end up doing was It's a Wonderful Knife.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And that's a one I'm really bummed out that we lost. I didn't particularly like it.
That movie sucked.
And
came out into that time span of 3 years where they were doing 80 hit movies.
Hmm.
whatever, or like classic movies, but a spin of making it a slasher, and like that was the one that just didn't hit.
I
Like
just
sucked.
Ju- Justin Long was goofy.
Yeah,
I just remember, in all honesty, I don't really remember too much about it other than just watching it and going, "This is ridiculous."
yeah, and being like, oh, out
Now
of all
that's
the
one.
horror movies that Justin Long has been in, this is probably his worst.
Hey, you know what? If that dude's getting paid, by all means.
Yeah, he
But
usually does pretty good work in horror movies, but yeah.
that was a bummer because I'm gonna come across it one day, and I'm gonna come across it in like 2 years, and then I'm just gonna have to post it and be like, "This is all the way back from a couple years ago," but I have to post it. One that we
Like
did.
December of 2023, we were supposed to do that one.
I don't know what we ended up doing instead, but
Yeah.
wasn't that probably a Black Christmas movie?
Probably when we did the 2019 Black.
No, we did Krampus, I think.
Oh yeah, which was better.
Yes, better. Not, I mean, it's not a fantastic movie, but it was better.
Better, yeah.
Only other movie I can think of right now that we gave kind of a. It was one of my homeworks, but it was supposed to have its own episode. Was The Black Phone?
Yeah, yeah. So it was touched up on. I gave it to you for homework because you never finished it,
So that one at least got a little bit of.
which is a great movie.
Yes, fantastic movie.
And Black Phone 2 is coming out this year, right?
Don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I thought we said all we really needed to in the first one.
We'll see. But I did see something today. I don't know if it's true and has no reference to what we're talking about here. But Fear Street Prom Night coming out in May.
I'll have to do some research on that one. We like Fear Street.
It's where we all got started here, and if
Liked it
that's
so.
true,
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
We liked it so much that we re-reviewed it.
Yeah. I honestly hope they cast like the same people just playing different characters.
I wouldn't mind it.
Like if that's like the Fear Street gimmick is like they're just casting the same people as different characters, that'd be dope. Because the acting in Fear Street is pretty good.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed it, and I want my girl to have a bigger role. The one that was the main character's best friend,
Oh yeah, like gets her head
mashed in.
yeah, by a cake slice. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't really
Let her
seen anything since then either, so
let her be the main character.
right. Give her something, yeah.
And lastly, before we go into Jane Doe, I just thought I'd ask. So those are movies that, for one reason or another, we either watched and didn't review, or we reviewed and then we lost it. Are there any movies that either of us refuse to review in terms of yeah, I'm not gonna watch that, man. I don't want to watch that and review it.
Um,
Knowing the synopsis of a Serbian film, that would probably be on my list.
yeah, I'd feel like that. I'd be like, yeah, we're gonna draw the line there.
Because I've read the synopsis from start to end of what happens in a Serbian film, and
Yeah.
especially the ending. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch that.
Yeah, I would never want to watch that. And also, has nothing to do with the movie. It's more about Victor Salva. I
Uh,
feel like Jeepers Creepers.
which is a bummer.
Yeah, genuinely good films, but it's like,
You don't want to give praise to that
Too
guy
many.
either.
yeah,
And people who know it know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
If not, he's not a good dude.
not a good guy at all.
So, all right, I was just wondering where we kind of draw the line, and if you don't know what a Serbian film is, it's interesting that you mentioned Victor Salva. Kind of go hand in hand with the reason why I don't want to watch Serbian film.
Yeah, and also would never do a snuff film.
No, I don't know exactly how, because I'm not opposed to watching intense movies.
Either am I.
Right.
But you gotta draw the line somewhere,
Hmm. I mean, we got to have at least. I want to kind of enjoy, unless it's a bad movie in which I can tear it apart. I go into movies hoping that I will like it.
Yeah, I look for something out of the movies other than just feeling like awful after watching it. Like I need to go sit and cry in the shower for a while.
Hmm. All right, so yeah, and that just goes without saying. We already mentioned we're not going to re-review Girl Next Door. I'm not going to watch that again.
You know?
But something that I would watch again, and something that we got to watch again,
Yeah.
Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yeah. And it's a movie I was happy to go back and rewatch because I really haven't seen it since we reviewed it. So I was like, I remember thoroughly enjoying this movie.
Yes, I don't mind delving back into this. So that's kind of a spoiler, but I don't think I've seen anybody who doesn't like Autopsy of Jane Doe. It's considered usually in horror circles as a very good movie.
Yeah, yeah,
But let's break it down. I can take the reins on this if you want. I kind
go
of
for it. Yeah,
I kind of have it broken down into sections here. Instead of going beat by beat, I'm gonna do them in like chunks, and then we talk about it instead of going and then this happened and then this happened. I'm trying to make the actual breakdowns of these things a little less monotonous by making the synopsis a little bit more compact. All right, so what we got? We got a father and a son. We have Austin and we have his dad, Tommy. And they operate a corner service in this small town. Tommy, the dad, pretty much just throws himself into his corner work, especially after the death of his wife, Austin's mother.
yeah,
And Austin helps him. He's really good. He's his assistant. But he's also trying to divide his time between helping his dad out and spending some time with his girlfriend, trying to live his own life.
yeah. It seems like he's trying to move forward away from this type of life, even though it's been a family business for generations.
And he, you can understand, his plight because he's like, I'm kind of like the only person my dad has left.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just me, him, and the cat, and I don't want to just leave him.
yeah.
But at the same time, he wants to live his own life. He doesn't want to be like,
Small town corner.
yeah, he doesn't want this to be his life. So anyway,
Even though it seems like he kind of like enjoys the work.
well, that's the thing. The two come at their jobs in a kind of a different way. The dad, he focuses on what happened to this corpse, what happened, what are the facts in front of him, while the son kind of, I mean, he's competent in that, but he also asks why.
Yeah.
Like, why did this happen? And he has a little bit more empathy,
Yeah.
which which you can understand because the dad
But you
is
see,
just kind
it's
of,
like years of having to deal with this kind of whittled down the dad while the son is still rather new in the business.
and when you learn a little bit more about some of the stuff that happened with their mom, it makes sense the way they kind of act.
Yeah.
But Austin has a date with his girlfriend Emma. Dad's like, okay, son, but then at the last minute, sheriff comes in and says, hey, we got a fresh corpse for you. Got this woman, and we absolutely need a cause of death.
Yeah.
The media is throwing a shitstorm, and I can only keep them at bay for so long. We need something by tomorrow morning. So Austin's like, damn it, I have Emma, sorry, but I gotta stay here and help my dad.
Yeah, and his dad was kind of like, you need it, you should go.
Yeah, the dad was understanding. He wasn't like saying,
Yeah.
he wasn't guilting his son either. He
No,
was
he
like,
wasn't like an hour ring, like, no, you need to do this. And he's like, no, go live your life. I can handle this. But he's like, I feel like I have to do this. Yeah.
and that is one of the big things that I just have to say that, well, a couple things at this point. The relationship between the father and the son, I think, is a very high point of this movie.
Yeah.
They bicker sometimes, but they never go into like full on arguments. They kind of like butt heads like a father and son would butt heads at somebody with that he's like a late teens, maybe early 20s.
I'd say like early 20s, like close to fresh out of like university.
Yeah, so maybe like 23, maybe something like that. And his dad's older. He's been doing this for a while. And so they bicker, but in a way that's understandable.
Yeah.
And the relationship between Austin and his girlfriend. What did you, out of curiosity, what did you think of Austin and his girlfriend, that relationship?
Well, you don't see all that much into it,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like she is someone that's trying to kind of push him forward in life.
Yeah.
She has a sense that like this isn't where he wants to be, so she's trying to like nudge him forward to take the steps necessary.
I can kind of get it from her point, although I empathize with him.
Yeah.
He's in a tough spot, and some of it did kind of feel a little pushy, but at the same time, she also wants to be like, well, you need to live your life kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so, And so, yes, I'll just say that one of the high points for me was the relationships I thought was very nicely portrayed.
Yeah.
So, throughout the night, the father and the son discover more and more unusual things about this body that's brought in, this Jane Doe, there's no name. And as the night goes on, more haunting things begin to occur. And at this point, I thought I'd go ahead and list out this is some of the initial stuff about the autopsy that they find and why it's so weird, because this is a very odd case. The body shows signs of being dead for days, but rigor mortis hasn't set in, and her blood is still flowing.
Yeah.
The tongue has been severed, the ankles have been fractured, and so has the wrists.
Yeah.
She has a very narrow waist, which doesn't seem natural. It's more in line of somebody who's worn a corset most of their life, and all of this, but there hasn't been there's no outside blemishes or signs of trauma. Like all this, like shattered ankles, shattered wrist, tongue is all messed up, and inside of her body, her lungs have blackened as if she was in like a fire that would have given her third-degree burns.
Yeah.
And there's internal stab wounds, but again, you wouldn't notice from the outside.
Yeah, like there's scarring on her heart, like she's been stabbed in the heart and it healed. Like that doesn't happen.
Like you're looking at this body like, this body's been through some shit, but like you would never know it.
Yeah.
And at this point, we need to go ahead and give some flowers to this actress.
Yeah.
The actress whose name is Olin Kelly, or Owlin Kelly, because she pretty much laid there for the entire shoot.
Yeah.
They didn't use a prosthetic dummy or what have you. They literally just had this woman like stripped down, and I guess she was big into yoga, or she was a yoga enthusiast or yoga instructor, so she was able to kind of like control her breathing.
Okay.
And they wanted somebody who to have that kind of sense of lifelessness to kind of connect with the audience.
Yeah.
So kudos to her, because that couldn't have been easy to just strip down naked and just lay there still for hours and hours of shooting.
Yeah.
So
like weeks. So
I just thought that, unlike me, where they're like, "Hey, so we need you to strip down," and like I'd be insisting on it. Like, well, can't you? Really, do I gotta lay here butt naked in front of everybody for hours? Can't you get a dummy and shoot me from the side?
Right.
So I just thought I'd give a little bit of flowers to her. So let me ask you a question, because we see this autopsy as it's going on. We see this body get opened up. We see Brian Cox, who plays the father, take I don't know what he uses, but he has to basically break her ribs in order to like get in to see more of the inside.
Yeah, like it's like normal for like autopsies, like
yeah, I just don't know what it was called, the thing that he had.
Rib,
bolt cutters, like bolt cutters.
Yeah, to break that little plate, like that
chest plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the name just escaped me. So yeah, we see all that. Now, do you find it easier to watch a corpse like that getting like cut up and everything versus like a victim in a horror movie? Because it's pretty graphic. I mean, you see him like incisioning, opening up, cracking bones, and removing things. I don't know. Would you consider it graphic, or would you consider something graphic if it was like a live victim?
I would say it would be harder to watch a live victim.
Mm-hmm.
Because the second time around watching, after knowing how it ends, watching all that was a little bit tougher than the first time around.
Knowing what we're going to be delving into in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just something weird about like watching like surgery, like stuff like that. There's like kind of like a line where you can like watch something this bloody, but it not be weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but...
Yeah.
But anyway.
But if it's a lifeless corpse, you're like, okay, whatever. And it's not like graphic in the point where they're like defacing a corpse.
Mm-hmm.
They're performing like an autopsy, so got the rationale behind of like why they're doing what they're doing.
So that they're basically they discover all of these things as they're doing this body or examining it, and they're kind of dumbfounded. They're like, none of this makes sense.
Right.
And remember, they're under time constraints because the sheriff is like, I need an answer by the morning.
Yeah.
And at this point, they're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to tell this guy.
Yeah, she died like 5 different ways, but yet you could never tell.
Um, oh, and we should also mention that where they found the body early on in the movie, the body was discovered at this gruesome like site at this like a bunch of dead bodies at this house, and this body was found in the basement.
Yeah, like buried in the basement, like under concrete, under the dirt.
And it's just kind of like I mean, they chalked up the dead bodies that they did know about to a B&E gone wrong, even though that's just to kind of like appease the media.
Yeah.
But they're like, but we can't explain this. We don't know who this chick is.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while all this stuff is going on, the morgue starts getting kind of haunted housey.
Yeah.
The radio keeps changing stations.
And he keeps playing this one like creepy old like American song.
Let the sun shine in, the sun shine in. And you know why that song was playing, right?
No.
That answer I will. Well, later on we hear the father and the son talking about their mother, and the father says that his nickname for his wife was Ray, as in ray of sunshine.
Okay.
So, let the sun shine in was kind of mentally fucking with him. A storm is also approaching.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, the family cat dies.
Yeah. But the thing about the storm is in the beginning of the movie, you kind of hear a weather report.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, sunny skies, not a cloud in sight all day.
Yeah, let the sun shine in.
Yeah.
But once they started cracking this body open, out of nowhere, the radio station said, yeah, you do not want to be outside in this storm. There's going to be flooding everywhere. Winds up to like whatever miles an hour. Yeah, you do not want to get caught in this storm. So that's not ominous.
Right.
And throughout, you still keep seeing, especially after the cat dies. The cat dies mysteriously. They find it in the air vent and is pretty much eviscerated, but still clinging on to life.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the dad has to mercy kill it.
Yeah, and that was the last thing he had of his wife.
Yeah, the cat was a pain in the ass, but it was his wife's. And again, you just get more good emotional building between the father and the son, because the son is like, "Do you want to talk about it, Dad?" The dad's just like, "Let's just get this going." And you know, the dad's in a bad mood. Obviously, you know, he's not having a good day.
No, he honestly just wants to get this done and just be over with it. Just let me get out here. Yeah.
Yeah, meanwhile, the son at this point is like, you know, the storm's coming. He's supposed to be meeting with his girlfriend later. And he's just saying, Dad, why don't we just put this off until the morning?
Yeah.
Dad's like, we can't. They need an answer by the morning. We can't just put it off. He's getting a little upset, but it's like, you know, just tensions are
building
a little high. Yeah, building. All right, more about the autopsy. They discover more things. They find a tooth that's wrapped in a shroud that was force-fed to her.
Yeah. Oof.
They found a poison and a paralytic agent that was forced into her system. And they also find that the shroud that had the tooth wrapped in it had a bunch of like ritualistic symbols on it. They pull her skin back and see those same symbols drawn on the inside of her skin.
Yeah.
So this is a mystery, this woman.
Yeah, like that shouldn't be possible.
So at this point we know this about this is what we've determined about her. She was given a poison and a paralytic agent. She was burned. She was stabbed. She was she had her tooth ripped out and then put in a shroud and force fed to her. Her ankles and wrists have been shattered.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should not be. That's overkill.
Yeah.
So they're like, this seems like a ritualistic human sacrifice kind of situation we have dealing with here.
Right.
And as the night progresses, now the morgue goes into full haunted house. Yeah. Like once they find that out, stuff just goes off the rails now. Lights are shattering. The exits get blocked off. They try to leave at one point. At one point, they're smart enough to go, yeah, fuck this, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
At least they're smarter than a lot of other horror movie people, because they at least were like, okay, yeah, this is feeling a little off. This body is weird. The cat's dead. Lights are flickering on and off. The station's going to different channels. The storm's going. Let's just leave.
Yeah, the power goes out, but the generator has enough to keep the lights on. but not enough for the elevator. So they're like, we'll use our emergency door.
Hmm.
But the storm knocked a tree on it.
Damn.
Damn. So they're stuck in there.
So they're stuck, and now all like subtlety has gone out the window. They start hearing some jingle jangle.
Yeah.
Now, what we saw earlier in the movie, the thing about these corpses, they have a space where they keep all the dead bodies, and they put a bell at the end, like attached to their toes, like on all the dead bodies. I guess a superstitious, thing of
from back in the day, because a lot of times back in the day they couldn't tell if someone was like
dead or not. Sometimes,
in a coma or dead, so put the bell on there. And the father is more of like a stickler to
tradition,
yeah, so he still does it.
which I always thought was like this is just a little funny sidetrack, because when it comes to like superstitions like that, my dad, when he says when he dies and I'm at the funeral, he said prick the corpse with a pin just to make sure that I'm dead. And I'm like, well, Dad, by that point they would have removed all your internal organs.
Yeah.
and they would have like, you would be dead.
Yeah.
But I said, but I will. But just little superstitions like that. There's no real reason to have the bells on the feet, other than tradition, because they remove your organs. But they start hearing a jingle jangle.
Yeah.
Which is not what you want to hear in the middle of the morgue, in the middle of a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
And at this point, the dad, who is the most skeptical, is like, the son has been saying for a couple times, I think that this chick is haunted.
Yeah.
I think that this corpse in there is haunted. And at least by the halfway point, the dad is like, okay, I think you might be right.
Yeah.
you might be right.
You're right here. Yeah.
And even if you're not, I am willing to pretend you are, so we can do what needs to be done.
Yeah, because none of this makes fucking sense.
But they got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So they think, all right, well, let's go back to the autopsy room and at least figure this out.
Yeah.
Figure out what the mystery is with this chick. Yeah. They get there. They get to the autopsy room. They're getting terrorized by dead bodies on the outside of the door.
Yeah.
Dead bodies are just up and moving around and are terrorizing them. And they're Austin's like, fuck this. And he takes some flammable liquid, throws it on the corpse, and he's like, I'm burning it. And Dad throws a match. It goes ablaze, but the body itself does not burn.
Yeah.
And so what do you do now?
Right.
Well, we tried cremating the body. It's not working. We're kind of getting surrounded here. But then they hear the elevator kind of turn back on.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, let's try to make a break for it. And the dad does a little oopsie daisy.
Yeah.
They take an axe and try to fend off, these corpses on the way to the elevator. I just realized that this review turned into exactly what I said it wasn't going to turn into, which was a beat by beat thing.
Yeah, the dad ends up killing the girlfriend, thinking it was a body.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute, because that's probably my contender for scene of the movie, because that's definitely the biggest oh shit moment.
Yeah.
Because they're terrified. They see the lights are flickering, bodies are coming at them. They're in the elevator, and the dad just blindly swings the axe and and then they just hear this moaning. And damn it, if it wasn't Emma, his girlfriend, right there. And that's rough.
That's punchfully gut.
Yeah, and Austin feels both Austin and Tommy feel guilty. Tommy, obviously, for being the one who axed her, but Austin was like, I told her to come back because I blew off our date, but I told her to come back later, so she was here. The only reason she was here is because I told her to come back.
Yeah.
They have a heart-to-heart in the elevator. They go back to the autopsy room where we find the big reveal. So why is all of this happening? What's the deal with this body that came in? They examine the blood of the corpse and realize that the blood is still very much active. The neurons are still firing in the brain. This corpse is dead, but it's still alive.
Yeah.
And if that's not creepy enough, they examine the shroud that was force-fed to her, and it's religious in nature. And
back to the Salem witch trial.
It references back to the Salem witch trial, and they determined that this woman was killed during the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
And the father has a revelation, because he's like, yeah, but there were no witches in the Salem witch trials. They were all innocent women. Yeah. And this is by far what I think this sets it apart which I love this about this movie. They said, well, what if they put this woman through hell and torture? They killed her 6 ways from Sunday, but tortured her beforehand.
Yeah.
That they probably inadvertently created a witch.
Yeah.
By doing this, thinking that they were killing a witch. They created a witch, and she's pissed, obviously, because she's a witch and she can feel everything that we are doing to her, even in death. So when he's cracking her ribs open, when he's slicing her open to do the autopsy, she is feeling that.
Well, everything, yeah. Pulling her heart out, yeah.
Pulling her heart out, pulling her organs out. The reason why they're being terrorized is this is a pissed off spirit.
Yeah. And they inadvertently terrorized the spirit for a couple hours.
Unknowingly, but they did.
Yeah.
So the corpses are still like terrorizing him. The storm's getting out of hand, and the dad
makes a sacrifice.
He pleads with the corpse and says, just leave him, don't hurt him, and just like basically take me instead. If you're gonna take your revenge out on anybody, take it out on me.
Yeah.
And then he just starts getting subjected to pretty much all of the pain that she went through.
Yeah.
His wrists break, his ankles break, his internal insides are getting like eviscerated, and the son, like seeing his dad like this, like mercy kills him.
Yeah.
Which
his dad was going to like finish the ritual, cut out his tongue. He stabbed him.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and be honest. I watch a lot of horror movies. This is one of a few horror movies that actually has me tear up.
Yeah.
Father-son stuff tends to get to me.
Yeah.
And he kills his dad as a mercy killing, but his dad was doing all that to save his son.
And killing his dad kind of sealed his own fate there
because the ritual wasn't complete.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to see his dad in pain anymore. It's just this dude has done nothing but just like care about his dad.
Yeah.
And so he kills his dad and tries to make his way out. He doesn't get far.
No.
He gets to the top, of the exit.
And you got the sheriff yelling to him like, "Hey, we're moving the tree. Start pushing the door."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Push it. Won't open. I'm pushing." He's like, "You gotta open it. I can't." And then the sheriff starts singing the song.
It's like, shit. Let the sun shine in song.
Yeah.
And that terrorizes him, and he trips over a railing and falls to his death.
Well, he slowly backs down from these like stairwells for the door to get out, and then he gets flashed by like the spirit of his father that spooks him, and he falls down the stairs and it's concrete.
Yeah.
And from there, the next morning, the sheriff comes and sees everything that happened. He's like,
"What the hell happened here?" They're
like, "Did he do all this?" He's like, "No. Like, I've known this family for 20 years."
Like, yeah, he's not a psychotic murderer or anything like that. Something happened. They grabbed the Jane Doe body to send her off somewhere else.
And the sheriff's just like, "Get that body out of my county."
And you just basically, it ends with the body going off to a destination unknown to probably wreak havoc on the next poor soul to do an autopsy. Because at this point, she's now fully restored.
Yeah.
It looks like they didn't even touch the body.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't even start on the autopsy.
And that's the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Really good movie. A really cool concept.
Yeah. It's definitely a smarter horror movie.
I absolutely love the idea of people creating the thing that scares them.
Yeah.
You'd be so terrified by something that isn't there that you create it yourself.
Yeah. Like, it actually lands on what Halloween Ends tried to do, where the whole town turned on Corey.
Killer.
Yeah. But, that just kind of sucked. Where this, it actually works.
That is, if they had done that in Halloween Ends, but did it smart, where it's like, yes, this town basically created a serial killer.
Yeah.
Which, I love that idea. They could have done that with Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
That really could have been the cool thing that they did. And you could have made it so that you could have, like, passed the torch if you wanted to. If you did it, I see a world where Corey is actually heralded as, like, the new Michael Myers. I can see it.
Yeah.
But we do not live in that timeline.
No, we do not. So, what was your scene of the movie?
I either got to go with the oh shit moment or the moment that made me tear up. I'll give it to Emma's death just because that's such a
Yeah.
combination oh shit and gut punch of a moment.
Yeah.
Just because I like these characters. I like Austin and I like his dad. These are two very innocent people. This is probably why I feel so much some kind of way, because these two guys are very innocent and they're already kind of like in a bad situation. They're just doing their job, and they lost their mother. He's trying to be there for his dad, and his dad is doing trying to struggle with letting ties go to his son as well as do his it's
Yeah.
they're not bad people, unlike a lot of horror movies where you get like some annoying characters where you're like, I don't care if this person dies or not.
Yeah.
I want to see these two live.
Yeah, like the characters, the two main characters are very well developed. And
Yeah.
that's why I think, like, for me, I think my favorite scene is kind of like the first camera shot of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
where it starts with that upside down shot
Mm-hmm.
and slowly turns into frame.
You like that?
Yeah, kind of giving me that turn. Like, this movie is going to flip these people's lives upside down. Like, yeah.
It's a nice take.
Yeah, how you think this is going to go, it's not. Yeah.
And it's an entity that you can't really. There's nothing you can really do.
No.
Unless all you did was nothing. I imagine if they just did nothing,
It'd probably leave you alone. Yeah.
probably leave you alone. Or and it's also thinking about it now. I don't know if it was intentional or not. She was killed because of public hysteria,
Yeah.
and the reason why they want the autopsy done so quick is to avoid public hysteria.
Yeah, that is a good, like, kind of like cause and effect type deal.
Like, he's saying we need to have this body examined. I need to have one so I can tell the public something.
Yeah.
So it's all about appeasing or easing public hysteria.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, if they weren't put on a time crunch, they probably could have been like, well, we'll deal with this, the next day. Or, I mean, not to say that would have, that it probably would have still happened, but they had to have it done that night. It's just that sense of urgency where it was like, I didn't even think about that until just now. But,
Yeah. No, until you said it, I was like, yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, she was killed because of public hysteria, and so were they.
Yeah.
And, yeah, what it also was kind of like? It was kind of like Paranorman.
Yeah.
The same exact concept.
Yeah.
Those people in the Salem witch trials killed an innocent girl and basically turned her into a witch.
Yeah. And basically, they were going down that route with Norman because he had some supernatural gifts, but it all worked out for him.
There are a lot of movies that do that, and I'd like it when it's done well. That's honestly, it's funny because as I've gotten older, I appreciate that as a theme in a movie. But like a movie like The Mist, that was the thing that pissed me off in watching The Mist. But I know it's supposed to. It was like everybody getting all mob mentality that they do something they wouldn't have done otherwise. And make a bad decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad that we're gonna give this movie a little justice.
Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and
Read
break
some
it down?
rotten reviews.
What was that?
So read some rotten reviews for this movie.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since we've done that. So, yeah, read some rotten reviews.
All right, so we got Brian Eger from Deep Focus Review. The movie's early, slow-burning potential is squandered by its adherence to popular genre tropes, all of which seem underwhelming after the first two-thirds.
What? Wait, say that middle part again. It did what? And then say it one more time.
Slow-burning potential is squandered by its adherence to popular genre tropes, all of which seemed underwhelming after the first two-thirds.
I'm guessing by the popular genre tropes, it's probably talking about the scenes like with the corpses doing a little like classic scares like that. But I mean, I don't agree with that take.
Not at all. I feel like it stuck the landing very well at the end.
It's a slow burn, but eventually it has to start burning.
Yeah.
I mean, people have said that about The Shining, that it's a slow burn, but once it gets to once it finishes slow burning, it starts to burn.
Yeah. Then we got Josh Goller from Spectrum Culture. Few horror films in recent memory have squandered a solid setup as thoroughly as the Autopsy of Jane Doe.
I
Well,
mean, I don't
Josh,
know.
you were wrong.
I don't know exactly what you want though. Like, I mean, I don't know
What
how it
was
could have
the
ended.
Yeah,
I don't know how it could have ended any other way than how it ended.
right. It's genuinely pretty good. And then
Like,
Jamie Fa DeLucas gradually loses its strength.
now, I mean, I will admit that the first half is stronger than the second half.
Yeah,
But I mean, it had to go somewhere. It couldn't just be an autopsy all day. I
right.
mean, it had to amount to something.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with what they. I
Like,
understand what they're
they're looking
talking
for
about.
like a mystery where it's like just these two guys figure out this weird autopsy.
I can understand that, and I can get that point of view of because at the very beginning, I'd say all the way up to about the halfway point, you are genuinely wondering, okay, you figuring out what the deal is with his body, but at the same time, they gave you an answer.
Yeah.
They,
And I think a pretty good one, in my opinion. And we got Ryan Morris from the Film Inquiry. The Autopsy of Jane Doe's premise is jaw-droppingly exciting, but soon gives away to ticking off every horror cliche in the book.
that's every horror cliche, really. Like,
Really? I don't disagree with that one. Yeah, there's some horror cliches, but it's a horror movie.
yeah, there's a few. I mean, I could certainly name a few horror cliches, like the killing of Emma,
Yeah,
or the fact that they all do like die at the end. Like, I mean, but I can't think of any other way for it to end because you just basically infer that this corpse just goes from town to town killing people.
yeah. All right, last one. Mike McKill from The Guardian. He is a top critic. Good for him.
Hey, good on you, man.
The second half is merely morbid runaround, punctuating its soundtrack crashes with self-justifying footnotes on historical misogyny.
Again, I understand what they mean because again, this first half is stronger,
Yeah.
but I honestly would like to hear one of these reviewers just tell me, all right, well, where do you want it to go?
Yeah, because the first half, it does a really good job setting up all the questions and answers the questions. It gave pretty solid answers to all the questions it set up.
Yeah, and I like that there's like, I mean, there's whatever answer you were going to get was going to be out of the realm of possibility. I mean, all of the stuff that was happening to this body, we already have established this is impossible.
Yeah.
So, if I was given that setup, I mean, I don't know where I would have gone with that, but they gave me an answer that I thought was satisfactory.
Right. Yeah. Can't please everyone, though, so.
But then again, I mean, it certainly seemed like it pleased most people. I think it's sitting at a like
81 or 82, I believe.
something like that. So, man, not that again, not that.
Rotten Tomatoes is a be all end all, but
What are one or two of the positive reviews?
so just so you know, it's 86 on the tomato meter,
Okay.
71 on the popcorn meter. So all in all, a pretty good film. So a positive review. We got Emma Wolf from Spooky Astronauts. I've actually watched some of her YouTube videos. She's very good.
Okay.
I thought the director did a great job at keeping that high tension and the jump scares feel for the new horror fans and the old ones.
Yeah. Jump scares, I could only maybe count two.
Yeah. All right. And then we got Eric Estrada from Cine Garage. In this horror story, much closer in the spirit to Stephen King's novel than to cheap horror films, Orvelde, the director's name, I don't know how to pronounce it,
Andre Orvdahl.
Orvdahl, makes us feel and live with his revenge nightmare, that which others have lived and felt.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool concept of like the dead coming back for revenge, but not doing anything themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like inflicting the exact pain. Somebody said that it was like bringing up misogynistic past or something like that. I was like, yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
It's history. I mean, Salem witch trials did happen. It's a historical fact. It did happen. Awful thing. But we shouldn't forget that it actually did happen.
yeah, and cool concept. Like, okay, what if they created a witch by mistake?
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead and give our actual breakdown?
Okay. So for technicals, it's shot really well. I feel like all the effects are done pretty well. There's nothing to really complain about. There's also not a lot that kind of like steals the show, per
Hmm.
se. So for technicals, I went 7.5.
7.5?
Yeah,
Okay. I actually gave it an 8.3.
8.3. Okay.
I thought the technicals, there was like one or two where maybe a little bit of the CG on the dead bodies was a little whatever, but I'm also giving it points for not using a prosthetic dummy, for having an actual person lying there the entire time. And when reading why they did that, to give her a little bit of a human, the corpse, a human touch to kind of connect with the audience. So it's like, yeah, she's dead, but she doesn't look it. Yeah, it's because it's an actual person lying there.
Yeah.
And much like how you said with the angle in the first one, they play a lot with like angles. There's not a whole lot, there's less gore. There's more gore in the surgery than there is with like the actual attacking. It's
Yeah.
kind of, if you take away the surgical stuff, it really is kind of a bloodless movie except for Emma's death.
Yeah.
So I think that the way they use the camera, music, and all that stuff, it built tension very well. So
Yeah.
8.3.
Okay. So for story, like I said, this is a really well told story. And unlike some people who criticize it, I like the answers that, it's set up in the first half. So I gave it an 8.5.
Okay. I gave it 8.4.
8.4.
Um, I again, not too shit on any other critics, but I can at least agree that the first half is better.
Yeah.
And but when they say that the slow burn turns into something else, I'm like, well, a slow burn has to turn into something. And I don't know where I would have taken it.
Neither do I. Like, I don't have a better way to end this movie.
So yeah,
Yeah,
eight
like I'm
four.
satisfied with the way they ended it. I thought it was good. Right, and that's why enjoyment, I also gave it an 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
It's an enjoyable movie. I feel like I could put this in my rotation to watch maybe once a year or so.
Yeah, I can definitely. Somehow I always end up watching it at least once a year.
Yeah.
I gave it an 8.4 as well.
8.4.
Um, it's very seldom that I watch a movie and I like all the characters. The father and the son, I thought had great chemistry together. Emma, for the short time she was on screen, she was fine. But the fact that you just have two people, it's pretty much just two people.
Yeah.
And I think they held down the movie very well.
Yeah, the acting between those two was great. They didn't go over the top with anything. They kept it grounded the entire time.
Yes, they could have. At no point were they like sitting there arguing with each other, but you could just tell there's tension there,
Yeah.
but understandable tension.
Yeah.
And you could tell at the end of the day that they love each other.
Yeah.
And it's seldom that a movie does that, and it's seldom that a horror movie can make me tear up. But I did with the dad's death, so 8.4.
All right. So you gave it a total of 25.1 out of 30. I gave it a 24.5 out of 30. So an average score between us of a 24.8 out of 30.
Yeah, it's definitely one of our higher rated movies.
Yeah.
And one of the times that where we're kind of in line with the majority.
Yeah, like they did a great job. The screenwriter, director coming up with the story, they did a really good job.
Now, is this the only solo non-double feature of this season, or were you trying to sprinkle a single one throughout?
There might be one or two more. We'll just kind of see how it all falls out.
This just happened to be one where I guess it was just kind of weighing on your mind, like, man, we never did
Yeah,
give that movie its props.
Yeah, why don't we just throw it in here?
I didn't mind that.
Yeah.
And
Like, if there's an actual Fear Street movie coming out in May, we'll probably do that one.
okay,
Yeah. So we'll see.
we'll see. But in the meantime, everybody can keep enjoying the double features, which
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't really matter that this one kind of turned into a beat by beat, just because this was a single movie.
Yeah, it's by itself. Gets its own flowers. But
Gets its own flower.
that was the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Thank you all for listening. Have a good week, everybody.
See ya. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Body Bag Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave us a comment as to what you'd like to hear us review, or any horror movie topics you'd like to hear us rant and rave about.
And while you're at it, you can find us on Twitter at BodyBagPod and on Instagram at BodyBagPodcast.
Thanks, and we'll see you next time.